Now for a look at New Jersey's road to reopening just in time for the summer. Capacity limits are going up across the state. News 12 New Jersey's Darlene Melendez joins us now from PNC Bank Arts Center to tell us what your summer entertainment could look like. Darlene.
Well, Christina, until now, capacity limits at outdoor venues like the PNC Arts Center here has been capped at 30%. But this summer, any concerts or any other sorts of events held here at the PNC Arts Center, they will allow for a 50% capacity. That means a lot more people who are eager for entertainment will get to enjoy their favorite musical artists. Now, this is also welcome news, of course, for all of us, as this shows that our state is trending in the right direction when it comes to those COVID-19 numbers. Now, Governor Murphy announced all of these upgrades just yesterday. This update coming as the state anticipates more progress with COVID numbers in the next few weeks. Now, here are the upgrades to capacity limits. So large venues like the PNC Arts Center with a capacity of 1,000 or more will get to operate at 50% capacity. Social distancing, of course, still required. And another one just in time for summer, carnivals and fairs, they'll be able to operate at half capacity too. Now, the limit for outdoor gatherings in general will go up to 500 people. Now, for indoor events like political events, weddings, funerals, and proms, they'll go up to a 50% capacity, capped at 250 people.
Now, we're doing this both because we are expecting the downward trend to continue over the next 2 weeks, and because we want to give businesses the ability to plan ahead, not just businesses, by the way, schools among others, the ability to plan ahead and fully prepare.
Now, all of these changes are effective May 10th. Now, Governor Murphy also hinted at the possibility at even more loosened restrictions come summer, just in time for Memorial Day. That is, of course, if our COVID-19 numbers in the state do continue to trend in that right direction, and also as vaccination numbers continue to grow in our states. We're at the PNC Arts Center. Darlene Melendez, News 12 New Jersey.
Governor Lamont also taking his incentive approach to vaccinations to a new level, hoping it's a win-win for the state as well as local restaurants. News 12 Connecticut's Suzanne Goldklang is at a cantina in Westport where the new initiative is being toasted tonight.
Hey, Eric, I will make this one simple for you. You get a shot in your arm, you get a shot in your glass. That is the idea behind CT Drinks on Us, where people who have been vaccinated will be able to stop by participating watering holes and have one on the house. Now, that promotion does not start until May 19th when restrictions are mostly lifted. However, members of the State Restaurant Association gathered in Westport tonight, and they quite like the idea. They say after a year of hardship and endless adaptation, it's time to try something fun.
Maybe a shot of straight mezcal or something like that.
Moderna Madeira.
Oh,
right?
hey.
The Pfizer Fizz.
I like it.
The Johnson &
Dude,
Johnson.
You're on it. He's on a roll.
You can kind of just keep on going. So you will want to keep that vaccination certificate nice and dry because you'll need it to get the free drinks. And don't worry, if you don't drink alcohol, there will be options for you as well, I'm told. In Westport, Suzanne Goldklang, New York.
And Julia, I know that, obviously you take a look across different, platforms to see kind of where the needle moves on this. So how are companies dealing with this, and what does the data show?
Yeah, I mean, the data is showing that obviously companies care, but there's a bit of a disconnect between employees and employers. Generally speaking, we survey employers and employees every couple of months throughout the pandemic, and we're finding that employers think that they're doing a good job supporting employees, but employees are feeling a big disconnect. In particular, a couple of segments, in particular the younger 20s, as well as women who are aged 35 to 44. Those two populations in particular are feeling really burned out and like their employer is not necessarily supporting them through all of this.
And where does that, or where should that support be coming from?
Yeah, well, I think during the pandemic, it's been a big opportunity for employers to really evolve their relationship with their employees. Employees look to companies more so than the government, more so than the media in many cases, as their source of trust. And so now employers have a responsibility to employees to check in, to see how they're doing, to provide resources. And there's a mix of formal and informal within that. So, formal being the policies, the benefits, the mental health and well-being app and counseling hotlines, things like that, that employers are putting in place. But the informal is really your relationship with your manager, with your teams, people checking in and coming together, to support each other. So that's really where we're seeing employers' responsibilities evolve.
So, this issue of burnout, obviously it existed before the pandemic, and I'm sure it will exist long after it passes, but it really seems as though COVID-19 exacerbated it, Dr. Leiter.
It has, yeah. When we do surveys of people now, there's certainly people are scoring more in that burnout direction than they did before on all the aspects of it. So it's much more present now.
So I know the World Health Organization lists this as a syndrome, but there are symptoms, both physical and emotional. Can you talk to us about what they are?
Okay, well, the central one, there's three central pieces to it. And the World Health Organization has sort of confirmed a lot of things we've looked at in the research on this way. That one big piece of it is exhaustion, and really chronic exhaustion, not just being tired once in a while, but really it gets defined by how often. So when you get towards feeling tired every day, like that's the kind of things, or even just a few times a week. But the important piece there also is that it's feeling tired before your workday even begins. Like if you feel tired at the end of the day, it probably just means you worked hard. But if you feel tired before the day begins, and that's a regular part of your work life, then that shows things are really out of balance in a way. And then piling on top of that is the issue of just sort of being more distant, more disconnected, even cynical, or just you don't care about it the same way you used to. You used to love the job, and now you're going, really can't get away from this fast enough. And then the third piece is just being discouraged, like you're just not accomplishing what you hope to. And with the pandemic, a lot of people working in a really different mode than they used to on their own. They're working a lot, and that makes you tired, and all your recreation has been cut off from things being closed, and you can't go to the gym, and you can't, all these things that you used to do to recover your energy are interrupted, and you're working in a different mode that's not really connecting you with people. Like teachers have that, like they're all at a distance, it's all across the screen, which isn't quite as connecting. And then it's hard to really feel completely capable with all these new things going on and outside of your usual groups. So all those things pile towards being exhausted and discouraged and rather distant.
Sure.
NYPD officer, who we've learned is from Suffolk, killed early this morning in a crash on the LIE. A Hempstead woman under arrest. Our Caroline Flynn is in the officer's neighborhood and will sort it all out for us. Caroline.
Well, Doug, I can tell you that neighbors here are absolutely devastated. They're in shock. One actually told me earlier that he was just outside with Officer Sakos a few days ago. He was playing with his kids as well as Officer Sakos' kids. He described him as a good guy, and that's what we were hearing from the NYPD as well this morning. Now, Officer Sakos, Anastasio Sakos, had been with the NYPD, we know, for 14 years. We also know he was a husband and a father of two young children, a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and had been living here, neighbors said, for around a year. Now, around 2 o'clock this morning, he was working with the highway district of the NYPD, and he was helping out at a scene of a different fatal accident. He was helping officers on the LIE near Queens, and that was when he was hit by a car that had veered off. Now, that driver left the scene, but we learned quickly after that they were apprehended. We actually have video of that arrest. Police have identified the driver as Jessica Bouvos, 32 years old. She's from Hempstead, and we're understanding that she faces a long list of charges, including vehicular manslaughter, DWI, aggravated unlicensed operator, reckless endangerment, and reckless driving. Now, we also are understanding that she was intoxicated at the time and driving with a suspended license.
We stand here this morning reminded once again in law enforcement, there is no such thing as a routine job. We stand here devastated and trying to pick up the pieces of what is a shattered home and a shattered NYPD family.
We have been seeing throughout the morning some family arriving and others already starting to bring meals for them to help them in their grief. Also learning that this is a community that he lived in that has a lot of officers. We're seeing a lot of those flags raised this morning. A lot of neighbors, again, just shocked by what's gone on. And of course, it will be a difficult day, to say the least, for this community.
Families of people with autism and other special needs, the pandemic has been especially difficult as schools and other programs were shut. For one young man from Maplewood, the world got even smaller when the church he attended could no longer allow visitors. News 12's Brian Donahue tells us how the parish priest filled the void.
All are welcome. Father Jim Worth, pastor of St. Joseph Catholic Church in Maplewood, performs one of his regular concerts, which went from live to live streamed when the pandemic hit. There's about 9 people watching and listening on Facebook, but really, this is a concert with a target audience of 1. Here he is watching from home. Ben Hack is a 21-year-old with autism whose weeks had been filled with school, Sunday Mass, and Father Jim's regular concerts, or musical meditations that he calls solace concerts, until the pandemic shut it all down.
It was very challenging because everything went away. And he didn't really understand why everything went away, and why he couldn't go to church and couldn't go to the store and couldn't do things.
So Father Jim moved the concerts online. Other people can come and watch, and some do. But he really did it for the one person whom he could always count on showing up when the concerts had been in person: Ben.
These were born of my feeling that he was missing out on stuff he loved. That he was at Mass every single Sunday. So for him to miss it for, my gosh, all this time, he still hasn't been back, so that's a long time for someone who can communicate freely and easily.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. For Ben, even just knowing there was a concert schedule could lift his spirits for weeks.
We couldn't tell him when he would go back to being able to go to the grocery store or church or anything else, but we could say, well, there's another concert, Father Jim concert, 3 Tuesdays,
So, without further ado, we begin Ben's Solace.
They're just such a source of joy for him. I guess that's what's nice about it. And there's not a lot of the other sources of joy for him he still doesn't really have access to.
One seemingly small gesture, for one young man, was not so small at all.
This is for you especially, Ben. Oh, Benny boy, the pipes are calling.
I'm Brian Donahue. That's Positively New Jersey.
From glen to glen and down the...
Ben graduated from school last year. He is attending classes at a school for adults with developmental disabilities. He's remote for now, but his family is hoping they'll return to in-person learning soon.
It's calm in McGolrick Park, perfect to walk the dog. But for some, it's just not worth walking alone.
You hear about these people, Asian Americans, being attacked on the street, and they look like my mom.
The NYPD reports a 28% increase in hate crimes since last year.
Heart-wrenching.
Many of the most recent crimes against Asian Americans.
We talk about people as people of color, Black, Latino, Asian American, but if we look hard enough, we should be able to see ourselves and our family in other people, no matter what they look like.
The rise in crime enough to push people to find safety in numbers.
Mutual aid kind of picks up the slack where socioeconomic political systems kind of fail society.
Andy Lynn is a coordinator at North Brooklyn Mutual Aid.
This moment, I hope, can turn into a movement for multiracial solidarity.
Their latest effort, neighborhood walks.
If someone feels unsafe to get from point A to point B,
call this number, and a neighbor will meet you to walk together or bike together to the subway, or just around town.
Helps strengthen the ties between people in the community, and it's what makes a community strong.
1,300 volunteers strong, vouching to keep their neighbors and the community they love safe. Sabrina Franza, News 12.
Let's head now to Brooklyn, where a livery cab was stolen as the driver loaded groceries into the trunk. And this morning, we are getting a look at exactly how this all went down. So let's check in now with News 12's Katie Lusso, who is on Ralph Avenue in Flatlands this morning with the very latest. Katie.
Yeah, this all unfolded in the parking lot here at the Ralph Avenue and Flatlands Avenue. Police say the driver
All right, so it appears we've lost Katie there, but the driver of this livery cab, as she was saying, that was stolen, was standing at the back of the car loading a passenger's groceries into the trunk. In new surveillance video, you can see the suspect, who is highlighted there, walk towards the car. Then the video cuts to the suspect getting into the driver's seat. The owner of the livery cab runs over to try and stop him, but instead gets dragged several feet as the suspected thief takes off with the car door still open, and the groceries from the passenger, who is not in the clear yet. Now, this happened last Monday just before 6 o'clock at night in the parking lot of the Key Foods on Ralph Avenue and Flatlands Avenue. Police tell us the car was found with some damage in East New York on Schenck Avenue last Wednesday around 5 o'clock at night. And we are told the owner of the car had some cuts and bruises, but is expected to be okay. Of course, if you have any information or know about the person who cops say stole that car, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number 1-800-577-TIPS. We have another attack to talk about, this one on a Jewish center in Riverdale, and this happening as the community is already on alert because of previous attacks, one of which was caught on video. Now Good Samaritans are helping the NYPD patrol the area. News 12 reporter Joanna Hernandez in Riverdale for us with the very latest on this story. Joanna, what can you tell us?
Now that's right, this morning officers standing outside the Riverdale Jewish Center. Now this center has been vandalized twice in a matter of days. Now this is one out of 4 Jewish houses of worship that were attacked over the weekend. Now this is a man believed to be behind hundreds of dollars of property damage. In their surveillance video, he's seen smashing multiple rocks through the windows. Most of these synagogues are blocks away from each other in the Riverdale neighborhood. Detectives say so far their investigation leads them to believe it's just this one man that has targeted these 4 different locations. Now this is a closer look at the person police want to question. We're told he's also broken the windows of cars parked along West 238th Street near Bell Tower Park over the weekend. The Guardian Angels taking action, hoping to find the man behind these 7 reported incidents. We're told they plan on continuing to patrol the area in the hopes of stopping any more attacks.
If you're thinking of doing this, Guardian Angels are out here, okay? We're not gonna call the cops. We're gonna intervene. Once we have you locked up, then we'll call the cops to come get you.
Now, thankfully, there's no reports of anyone being hurt during these incidents. And of course, if you recognize a man in the video or have any information that could help police, you're asked to give them a call right away. In Riverdale, Joanna Hernandez, News 12.